Hello, everyone. You're listening to Game Rivals, a podcast where a Nintendo fan and a PlayStation fan talk about the latest games and happenings in the gaming community and industry. I'm one of your hosts, Maximilian X, and together with SeanTemplar, we bring you this bi-weekly podcast about video games.
Alrighty, welcome back everybody to a new episode of Game Rivals. Today we have another special episode because, like last time, we have a special guest. I'm of course here again with my co-host, my how do you say that? My better half, um, Maximilian X. But our special guest joining today is someone who's called Negative. Welcome, Negative.
Thank you, thank you.
Maybe you can briefly introduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay, I'm negative. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm related to Maximilian X. I'm a bit of an old head. My main hobby is gaming, and gaming in general is the only thing that I do. Um, yeah, as occupation, I'm a programmer. I don't do game development, but I can emphasize with game developers. So I'm hoping to bring the perspective of that side to this podcast.
Nice, nice. Any favorite games?
I do have a strong affinity towards fighting games.
Okay.
Mainly the Street Fighter franchise. Maximilian might know about that.
Yes, I do.
But I have a deep and deep rooted passion for RPGs, and my all-time favorite RPGs is Xenogears.
Oh, so you're also the JRPG.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I,
I
I,
know
I,
that you have.
it's like I get this all just falls
You
into
wanna
place
you
now.
wanna know the
No
funny
matter,
part? You wanna know the funny part, Sean?
no.
I'm the one who introduced him to JRPGs.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
with Secret of Mana.
Oh my god. Well, wow. This is going to be a
Okay.
really fun podcast. Cool. So, welcome. We've talked you through how this kind of works. So, let's jump into our first segment, and that's the news. Um,
Mhm.
I will unfortunately share some really sad news. Almost felt like somebody died and that we should take a moment of silence, but we can't because it's a podcast. Um, but The Last of Us 2 got delayed again this week, which is really sad.
That's not the only thing that got delayed.
Nobody cares about the other game. The other game.
Wow, shots fired, man.
So
I
the other
think
game.
Iron Man fans are really disappointed, man.
They should be. So Sony earlier this week made an announcement stating that they're going to delay The Last of Us and Iron Man VR indefinitely. Um, for Iron Man, we don't know the specific reasons. For Naughty Dogs, we got a statement saying that due to logistical issues, they are afraid that if they push the game out right now, it might not reach everybody because they are in the final stages of fixing the last bugs. Um, and It's more a question around when the game goes gold, they of course have to print the discs, and because retail is closed, people won't be able to buy it or have to wait for shipping. It's also kind of what you're seeing with Final Fantasy VII Remake, that street dates are being broken and games already out in circulation without the release actually being upon us. Um, I can understand that part. It's just that I think in this day and age, people are, at least in the Netherlands, people will just opt for the digital option and buy it digitally if they can't get it. Or here we have next day shipping. So if you order something today, you generally get it the next day. Um, but yeah, globally, maybe in countries like the States or in Asia, that infrastructure might not be as widespread. As also that internet is being capped all around the world, so downloads might take a while. So it's really sad. I'm just really sad because there's literally nothing to play now. I was living towards May, and now I don't
For
have
you,
anything.
there's nothing to play. For me, there's plenty. Plus, I'm pretty sure people have like backlogs of games to play.
But
So
nobody cares about backlogs. People want The Last of Us.
whatever you say, pal.
It's so
Whatever you say.
sad. Yeah. So that is some sad news. I think after the podcast, I'm gonna cry myself to sleep in my bed in the corner.
Oh, good grief, man. Get a grip, man. Get a grip.
Oh, I'll try.
But I mean, yeah, the things that you say are right. So what the what we do have to take into account that launching a game is like a lot of things that take place. You have to think about the how to promote the game, the ramp up to the ramp up to the release, um, how you're going to release it and what quantities, yada yada yada. And I think that's also part of the whole logistics thing,
Yep.
because I'm pretty sure that they probably wanted to do like a live action ad or something.
I don't
um
know. I think
who
that
knows? Who knows what the PR team would have wanted to do? We don't know that now. They
yeah.
can't do it now, anyways.
Yeah, the
Because of
funny thing
everything
is
that's
is
going on.
that they only postponed The Last of Us and Iron Man VR, but the month after, Ghost of Tsushima was set to launch. So I
Oh,
wonder,
that's probably also gonna get
yeah,
delayed.
because if that game comes out, people could of course say, yeah, but okay, but June is pretty far off, and COVID-19 situations might be better by then. But still, I mean, if Sony doesn't push back Ghost of Tsushima, they might inadvertently say, we care more about Last of Us and we really, really want that to be a success. And as for Ghost of Tsushima, we don't have everything riding on that. So it could also paint a different picture saying, like, it's a second ranked game. It probably won't, but from a messaging point of view, it does look strange if they don't, if they release the game in the same circumstances that we are in right now.
I don't know. What do you think about it, negative? Because I'm still saying it's gonna get delayed. I'm just thinking that they're just waiting to pull the band-aid.
The thing that I find awkward though is that The Last of Us is a sequel to a game that already exists that has an establishment and fundament. So I find it weird that the reasoning that they gave that if we release it now, it won't be properly distributed and stuff like that. Kind of strange to me. And if it has a fundament or a fan base, then if they can put it on a local server and people can download it, they will. Because like I said, it's a sequel. People that already know about it will definitely download it. SeanTemplar would probably be the first one on online pressing the download button. So
Yes, he
it, do-
probably
it
has
doesn't
it
it doesn't really make sense. Now there are people, of course, like myself, that always also like physical copies, having something to touch or something to hold, which I can understand that those people would probably be gated to a certain extent, but that doesn't still mean that they can't play the game. So it's for me, it's
True, but considering how game development works these days, you have to realize that, especially on consoles, like day one games, especially big blockbuster titles, tend to have day one patches. Even Animal Crossing on Switch had a day one patch, which if you didn't have that, you couldn't play online. So there have been in the past games on PlayStation that if it didn't get the day one patch, it didn't have trophy support. For example, back in the PlayStation 3 games, and again, there are countries that have super limited data caps, so you can't just download like a 100 gig game. They are forced to buy the physical copy because they don't have the bandwidth for it.
yeah, and like I said, to a certain extent, okay, the majority of players or the majority of people probably will have a proper connection or stuff like that to um, either get the game to a certain extent. And oh yeah, like you said, other options of getting a physical copy might be um, delayed or harder or stuff like that. But in the end, still you can still order stuff in the Netherlands here. You can still order stuff. I don't think the logistical issue is that big. I know it's a bit harder. You just can't go to a store, but people can still order online. You can still mail an item because the mail service is still running for even the countries that are on lockdown. So I really don't see the actual issue. I just think that for and probably going to get into that topic later. It's in relation to having the game not actually being fully finished, and that's why they're pushing it back.
That is a possibility.
That's what I think. I'm not sure. Sean
I
Templar might
mean,
have more input on that.
none of us know, but
I
yeah,
I
we can all
think
speculate here.
I think that seeing if we weren't in current situation with lockdowns and stuff like that, I think the game
Hmm.
would have come out on in May because so first they were really hesitant of giving us a release date last year. So like last year we got the first release date, and I think this is the third one now. But like it really took a long time to get that initial first launch date, and then
Hmm.
they pushed it with 6 months, I believe, because they said like, okay, we really need some extra time to polish this up because we really need to get to the level that you expect from us.
Yeah,
And
because it was supposed to come out in March.
But that just shows exactly what I'm trying to say. The game probably wasn't finished, even with the extra delay that they needed, because in the development cycle, the bumps on the road usually happen during development, and then they saw, oh crap, we might have, oh, sorry for the language, we might have overseen something that we thought we could just fix, but we can't, so we need more time, and that's where delays usually come from.
True, but I already said we talked about this when they announced the delay the first time. I said I'm like because it came real quickly. They announced
yeah,
the initial date, and I think 2 weeks later they announced the delay or something like that. And I told them that the fact that they announced that release date all of a sudden made absolutely no sense. The only thing that they had going for them is that they had a state of play to show and they wanted something to cap it off with. So they gave it a date because I as soon as Neil Druckmann had to apologize for the delay, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is why uh, this is why the delay is happening because they were forced to give it a date even though they were nowhere near like ready to put put that game on prime time."
But they also need to capitalize on the momentum. So it's really, you can't just all of a sudden go, hey, here's the game. You know what I'm saying? So you want to keep the hype a bit going. Like right, like for example, SeanTemplar said that he's really feeling sad about it, that it's being delayed. That's a form of momentum that you need to capitalize on, so that people will still be hyped to buy the game as soon as possible. So
yeah.
I can understand that they announcing delays, but the problem that still remains is that I can see as from a developer point of view that they might see there might be some planning uh, that they're going to do this feature, and then while they're building it, they see that, oh, the engine doesn't support it, the hardware will malfunction or something, and then eventually they'll be like, okay, how are we going to tackle this within the time frame that we already published? And usually that comes ends up with, sorry guys, we have to delay it one more time because we really want to polish it, we really want to make it better for you, and they're always going to put it in a nice code that it's for you, and and you're going to benefit from it, but actually they're actually buying time.
Mm.
I think a good example of this is Gran Turismo 5 at the time on the PS3. I remember
Hmm.
that that game got delayed so many times
Ooh,
that
that's so annoying.
by the time it came out, the momentum was gone. There was no actual hype. Like the only people that were actually looking forward to the game were the real hardcore fans. But
Hmm.
generally, well, you don't get a lot of race games these days. So generally, when people let's put say like you have the hardcore racers, which like the sim racing, have the steering wheels and stuff like that, and you have the casual racers. If a race game comes out, besides the hardcore buying it, the casual will always opt in because they're like, hey, it's been a while since I played a race game. Let me try this. But
Hmm.
by the time Gran Turismo 5 came out, it was delayed so many times. And also, the feature set that it shipped with it wasn't what you were expecting for all those delays. It was just like, okay, is this the reason why they delayed the game so many times? It felt like it was just to add in more cars or more tracks. It wasn't like that there were some groundbreaking features into the game. So that's a perfect example of losing momentum and only having the hardcore players buy the game. Now, I think in this case, The Last of Us still has a pretty good reputation for itself because it at the time got almost tens across the boards, except for Polygon, which I will not go into because I've bashed Polygon before for their 6.5 or 7.5. Um, but I mean, that's the only thing they got good going for them. And I think as well is that there's a lot of pressure on Sony at this moment because Microsoft doesn't have a lot of first party games. Like their first party games are a Gears of War, a Halo, a Forza. Like you can count them on one hand. Whereas Sony has this pretty huge library of single player games. And last year they released almost nothing, and this year so far they almost haven't released anything. So like a lot of people are expecting something from Sony because they built this reputation of way we offer amazing single player experiences. And if they keep on pushing their games, yes, we know that they'll come out guns blazing with the PS5, but that's still 6 months out at least.
At least,
Yeah,
Hmm.
just all things considered.
yeah. That brings us to maybe a segue to an article that was just shared by one of you that I had not seen. And the article was around that the PlayStation 5 might get delayed because of overheating issues. Um,
Yeah, isn't that fun?
I don't believe it.
Well, I mean, I don't think I don't think that it's. Here's the thing. I don't think that that's part of the reason why, but the PlayStation 5 has had a really weird road to, because if you look at how the PlayStation 4 was announced, how that went, that was smooth. That was the
That was
smoothest launch that
perfect. Yeah.
that that they have ever had, because PlayStation 3 had the 599 and the you'll take a second mortgage out to buy it, and Xbox had the whole, it's the all-in-one unit. Connect. Nobody has
Xbox
Connect.
on.
Uh, oh, I
Yeah.
hope nobody has their Connect still hooked up. Sorry. But yeah, the fact that there are, whispers in the industry talking about that the PlayStation that the developers are complaining about the PlayStation 5 overheating or having heating issues, um is really
I mean, it's kind of contradictory that they're saying that because if there's one thing we learned from the deep dive is that the whole reason they chose the variable performance on the GPU and on the CPU is that they could manage power better that way, and they built a custom cooling solution which they will go into deeper. I think it's not something simple as a fan like in previous PlayStations. It'll probably be something like the One X or Series X, a vapor chamber. But their whole story is we can manage performance, we can manage cooling and overheating and power by making this variable clock speed instead of saying it's going to run at this uh, level. So that's why it just sounds so strange. It's literally contradicting what Sony has been saying to us.
well, considering that they're using def units. I don't know how much that's going to differ from the actual thing, but I have it right here. I mean, if I can read it, I'm going to read like a little bit of it. That yeah, developers are expecting delays in the PlayStation 5 and heating problems to rival the Xbox 360. If you remember those days,
Oh my
Red Ring of Death. I had mine do it twice,
god.
by the way. I had to send it in twice for that problem. Um, don't you find it oddly odd? I'm quoting this here. Don't you find it oddly odd? They have yet to really show the hardware, despite pressure to do so due to Microsoft, because the hardware fails at an alarming rate. The system cannot maintain its clocks. The M2 gets hot quick. More throughput means more power consumption, means more heat. But even a PCIe 3.0 M2 got hot in the setup, which is the SSD.
It's not the internal SSD.
No, it's not the internal SSD, but if they're having problems, because um like recently in between past couple of days, you showed me a picture of how an NVMe hard drive looks like,
Mhm.
and that thing looks ridiculous, and the heatsink that they have to put
Yeah,
on
but that's
there,
the
and
PCIe
sometimes even
4, huh?
fans.
Yeah, but that's the PCIe 4 I showed you.
Yeah, but if that's already causing other heating problems, then that could be the reason why the hardware is not finalized yet, at least not in form factor.
Yeah, it could also be that there's going to be like a revision to dev kits coming out. We don't know if it's final hardware, what they're dealing with right now. So there's like I think a lot of influx there. I mean, dev kits get revised and updated or upgraded as time passes on. Um,
I agree with Sean. Dev kits usually don't have are not representing factor for what the final product should be, and usually the dev kit is a meaning for figuring out, hey, is everything working in order? So if the dev kit is heating up, they probably fix it before it gets to a final stage. Anyway, that's why I feel that these kind of rumors and stuff are usually just aroused to get a buzz momentum going for maybe the other party in this case.
it's the same. Like Max shared an article with me 2 days ago that I believe it's a retailer in Canada that put up pre-orders for PS5, and it said it was 399. And immediately rumors started going around like, oh, is this the pricing for the PS5? Oh my God. And we're like, yeah, but if in the Netherlands, a bol.com or an Amazon or a Game Mania or whoever puts up a pre-order for 299 or 199, it will make headlines because it will be a retailer that opens up pre-orders. I mean, I said like, okay, but we're in this COVID-19 situation. Who knows? Maybe they want to draw some traffic into their website and sell some stuff. And this is the perfect way to do it because you're generating traffic.
That,
Yeah, true.
that's exactly the point.
Yeah,
You just hit the nail on the head. That's
yeah,
exactly what's going on with this. You
yeah.
just write something, hey, I got the cure for COVID 19. Trust me, everybody will be on your website. Everybody will be on your website. So,
the, re- the reason I'm saying that is because yesterday I read an article on Eurogamer that they had kind of like a recap with Mark Cerny. So they saw the presentation for GDC a couple of days before GDC, Digital Foundry, and a couple of days after they got to talk to Mark Cerny about it. So he goes a little bit more in depth on things. So he, for example, explains that um, the reason that they chose the variable clock speeds is indeed to manage power and to manage um, heat, but also things like that. Um, the backwards compatibility, he said like, okay, we kind of messed up with backwards compatibility there. We don't intend to support the 100 most played games. We intend to support the whole library of PlayStation 4 games. It's just that because of certain code optimization, it might be that some games will not run smoothly or will not be able to take advantage of the performance gains from the PS5 than the PS4, for example. So he kind of corrected it that way. But he also said, for example, that oh crap, I lost my my thought. Oh yeah, so he said, for example, that because they're doing this power variable power, people say like, okay, but how is that going to work in different kind of rooms or different kind of temperatures? Because if it's colder or hotter in a certain area, might that not increase or decrease performance? And he said what they're basically going to do is they have like this base PS5 algorithm that is a baseline that will be implemented in all PS5, so that it's kind of like, hey, this is the minimum of what you need to run at, or you can't get below this performance barrier. So it's basically an algorithm, kind of like the perfect PS5 algorithm or perfect PS5 setup, and all PS5s will run on that algorithm to prevent it from going all over the place. So, and it's a balance between performance and cooling. So that was something nice to know.
yeah, so again, I want to interrupt in the question for you, Sean. I haven't really delved into the whole PS5 and Xbox X series debacle. But is this topic regarding variable speeds, is that really a thing? Is that really a hot topic for the PS5? Because laptops have been doing this forever. So what makes it on this particular case so special?
So in this case, it's that normally, for example, with for let's take a PC. So
Hmm.
PC can run at a certain gigahertz. So I have, for example, an i7 9700K in my PC, and
Hmm.
it's supposed to run, I believe, at 3.7 gigahertz. Um,
Hmm.
if my CPU gets too hot, it will thermal throttle. You know that probably. So
Yeah.
it will drop the performance down. So it will actually limit my performance, meaning I get either frame drops or less performance. The Xbox Series X is using this approach. They're like, we need the maximum amount of performance. So we try to lock the performance in at a certain clock speed.
Yeah.
The reason that the PS5 is not doing that, the reason it's working with a variable clock speed, is because that if, for example, they have a section that it is in need of more GPU power, they can throttle down, they can take performance from the CPU and put that in the GPU, and the other way around as well. So they can kind of manage performance more flexible through the system instead of saying, oh, but we've hit max power on the GPU, we've hit max power on the CPU, we kind of have no wiggle room here. So that's kind of their approach because it introduces them with flexibility as well as giving them more options to deal with heat and with cooling. Because, for example, my PS4 Pro was until recently a jet engine. If you were to play a game in HDR and in 4K, which I basically do all the time, it would be screaming like a jet engine. If I probably put in two wings, it would just fly away in my living room. That's how much sound it was producing. I replaced the thermal paste, and now it's a whole lot cooler. For example, so
Okay.
they said like, hey, to prevent situations like that, that your console is producing a lot of sound, we have this variable clock speed as well because we can develop a better cooling solution.
Okay. So basically, actually, the main topic is the cooling solution, not so much the variable throttling speed. They're using that as a means to get to the cooling solution.
Yeah,
It
Okay.
kind of
Now I
goes
get.
hand in hand.
part of it.
Yeah,
Part of
because
it. Yeah.
the GPU speed of the PS5 is higher than that of the Xbox Series X,
Hmm.
and that's
But
because
that
of this variable thing apparently.
yeah, and this contradicts extremely towards the whole topic that Max was bringing in regards to heating problems because they're actually working on it as a main topic.
They
Yeah.
are working on it. I didn't say that it was working, and neither did the article say that it was working. The article was saying that it wasn't working, or at
Okay.
least that was not the only part of the heating issue. The other heating issue is the onboard, the not the onboard memory, but the external memory. Like if you put
The
in
SSD.
an additional SSD,
Yeah,
Okay.
which is
that's why I
causing
like the
additional
part
heat.
around them validating it. That's kind of cool that they're gonna validate which SSDs work or which don't.
Okay.
Well, if
Okay.
they all don't work, then that's a big problem. Because unlike Sony, Microsoft is going to bring out a proprietary SSD that you can put in the back that just works.
Yeah, but I think people
Yeah, but
are like when they hear the pricing of that thing, they're gonna go mad. They're gonna
yeah,
True,
go,
true.
I
yeah,
I I think everybody remembers the Xbox 360
yeah,
and
Oh
the
man,
hard.
the 20 gig hard drive, that price never
Oh
went
god.
down, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So I think many people are frowning upon proprietary stuff. I
yeah,
understand that it just works, like you said, Max. But if I can get 2 terabytes for 40 euros, and I can get 1 terabyte for 140 euros because it's Microsoft's label on it, I'm sorry.
I think this is gonna be like a minimum of 300 euros
Oh
because
man,
it's
okay,
proprietary.
uh,
yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
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 well,
we've
whatever.
tested it. So you need to get a testing cost out of it, and we need to get every label and everything on
And
out
they're
of it.
working with Seagate to make this, so
yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I remember when
Me,
the PSP came out, those SD cards, I
The
don't know,
memory sticks.
yeah, the memory sticks. I remember 512 megabytes was 80 euros. A gigabyte was 150 euros. Like, what the hell?
And it never went the price never went down because
No.
the thing is that the memory sticks were used also in cameras.
Yeah, it's later that, for example, companies like SanDisk started making third-party ones, and those were a lot cheaper. But the Sony ones are always expensive.
Yeah.
yeah, but Sony always maintains their prices on their accessories.
Ah,
As DualShock controllers, I've rarely seen these stages where a DualShock controller goes down in price.
they never do.
Rarely.
Only when they have like these deals. I bought mine for 40 bucks because they had those days of play sales that
Oh,
they
you
wanted
even
like a
found
year.
one for 40 bucks. So that's like hitting the lottery.
Yeah.
I think Max had an interesting article around Gearbox as well.
Oh boy.
Before we
This is
dive too
going
much into
back to
PSP.
this is going back to the halcyon days of when we started this podcast, remember?
Yeah.
Because when we used to talk a lot about Riot
Yep.
and their like development woes,
And
this
now
feels
Gearbox is
like,
the new Riot.
well, I don't think Gearbox has ever not been like Riot in that capacity, because there have always been, talking from like developers anonymously about the culture of Gearbox, and this kind of takes the cake because, um, well, even though Borderlands 3 has been like super huge for Gearbox, the developers are not getting their bonuses. Like, or well, they are getting their bonuses, but it's like a significantly amount less than what they normally do, or what there was initially promised that they would get. And this is after all the churning that they did to get the game out, because apparently they already get below average salaries, like what you would averagely get in the gaming industry. They get paid less than that
Yeah, because of the royalty
because of the
payout.
exactly. And they have had those payouts before.
They're
When a
open
game
about
was
it
super
and they hire people.
successful,
So,
they get their bonuses, the bonuses that they were promised they get. But for some reason, in this case, they didn't get the bonus.
yep. And the funny thing is, a couple of years ago, last year, I think, Gearbox got into the news that a couple of years ago, um, their founder, Randy Pitchford, got a 12 million bonus paid out of the company from a royalty point of view, which was also kind of not cool, but he still kind of took the money.
Yeah,
Negative, you
no
were going to say
kidding.
something, I believe, or not?
Hmm?
I think you were going to
You're
say something, or
No, no, no. I was just laughing about the way
ah,
you said
okay, cool.
it.
Yeah,
But sorry, I was kind of checking on the topic regarding to Gearbox, and yeah, they're not getting their bonuses, but there's also some reasoning behind those bonus cut setbacks.
Yeah, but it's complete trash, because if you read it, let me see if I can find it here real
it kind
quick.
of contradicts
Yeah,
what they're saying. So, like, Take Two is saying something completely different, and Gearbox is saying completely different. Because Take Two is saying it's being the best-selling Borderlands ever, and it's a huge success, and we expect even more money to come from it. And Gearbox is literally saying, "Yeah, yeah, it's been a really expensive game to make, and we had to carry all the cost, and blah blah blah." And
yeah. Well, okay, but
Which is
just to,
hilarious which is hilarious because on the PC you can only get it on or it had the exclusivity on at the Epic Game Store for the reasons of getting more money out of it.
oh my god,
yeah, well, but you can. This is, in my opinion, real cookie cutter. You have the marketing point of view, and you have the actual point of view. And 2K is promoting the marketing point of view because it also envelops in getting their stocks up and all that kind of stuff. And you have the actual point of view in which, yeah, they had games like what's also been written in the article, like Battleborn, which really, really flopped. And
that's an
it, it,
understatement.
yeah, and when you also need to take into consideration that when a game actually flops, that yeah, that costs have been made, salaries have been paid, and that finance has to come from somewhere, and that's what I understand from the reasoning where the bonuses have been cut back. So basically, to decrease the debt that they have from those failed games.
Yeah, but then why promise the bonuses if you're just gonna stiff them in the end? Because they're already not getting the pay that they're supposed to be getting in the first place. You set up this
Yeah,
you set up this deal
Yeah,
as a company.
they
You
kind of
set up
make
this
up
deal
for
as a
it.
company where they get, because it says here the split is what, 60-40, with 60% going back into the company, 40% is distributed through the employees of the profit sharing of, like,
hmm
so if the game made a big profit, then why is it not coming back to the developers? Because it was a success, you know.
like I,
It
like I
was
said,
like,
like I just stated, if the why isn't the game money coming back to the developers? But if the company has a debt from at the financial investor, yeah, they also need to pay that financial investor. So if you
And
make a
yet they
better,
could come on, but yet they could pay Randy Pitchford 12 million. Come on.
yeah, that
That
part.
came out of the 60% that goes into the company.
Yeah, but
Bullshit,
okay,
man.
and that on that end, hey, I'm also a developer. I'm really for the developers in this case, but on that part, the 12 million, yeah, it's also rumored or stuff like that. But I can understand that because I knew how Battleborn really flopped, and I can understand that the company is then, let's say, on the water at that stage. So they need a big blockbuster, and Borderlands 3 might be that blockbuster. So they need to get themselves afloat. Um, and it's sad to say that it usually goes at the expense of the developers, the people that actually did the hard work to get the company back afloat. But sometimes the fruits of their labor do get paid at a later stage, where um, um, as soon as they get the flight, depends on if you don't have a greedy manager or management team or not. The developers will might get a double bonus later on, because I've seen articles like this before where they make a big spectacle at, yeah, developers are getting stiffed and being blah blah blah, and then later on you hear in Christmas, yeah, um, um, this company did this for all its employees. So yeah, should you really put emphasis on the cutbacks at the moment? And if it, like I said, it says in the article, Gearbox has been struggling and failing with more financial success. So it does seem like the company is in the red and therefore isn't able to pay those bonuses. And
Then
like,
don't make the promise then.
and I agree on that part. I don't know if they actually made the promise. Was who's saying that they did?
The devs do. Because it's a known quantity in the industry.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the fact that they're being paid less than average is a known quantity in the industry. So if you're going to apply for to Gearbox, you know that you're not going to get paid as much initially, like on your salary, but it does factor into account that you will get a bonus if the game does well.
Okay. And I also find that a real appealing approach because and not to
Like
segue
people
into.
plan around this stuff. People with the like with the what was it? I think it was with one of the Borderlands, one of the previous Borderlands that came out. Um, their bonus was so big that people were able to like literally buy houses, like
Hmm,
mortgage it off and like buy a house because it was a six-figure bonus that they got.
okay. Okay. Yeah. And then you have Battleborn where they put a lot of investment and resources in. I don't know if you guys have played Battleborn, but
It
if
didn't exist long enough for me to play it.
I think
okay.
that the reason that there's such a big difference between the Borderlands 2 part and the Borderlands 3 part is that in the time that Borderlands 2 came out, the industry was at a completely different place.
Hmm.
Now we're in a place that we get fewer games, but the games are either bigger or last longer or are live services. So we're getting to the point that, for example, a
You find
game such as, yeah.
sorry that I interrupt. You find that we are getting fewer games.
Yeah, so for example, like the at least let me put it like the blockbuster games, the really triple
Okay.
A games. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah,
Okay, because I think we're being flooded with games, but
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
have to we have to summarize what the quality of the game exactly
Yeah,
is. But
yeah.
okay, continue. Sorry
So
that I
like
interrupted.
pure to paint a clear picture, I generally play like 90%, 95% of my time I play triple A blockbuster titles, and maybe 5%, 10% is like these quirky indie games such as Astroneer, or
Okay.
other stuff. But like I think we've gotten to the point that the amount of AAA blockbuster games are far few that come out now in a year, but they are either supported through a lot of DLC or their live services, such as, for example, The Division, which got an expansion last month, or Destiny, which gets an expansion, or Rainbow Six Siege. I think the perfect example. It's going into year 3 now, I think, with the year 3 pass. So kind of like Ubisoft shines in that regard. They bring out a lot of these live service games and maintain it along the way. It might also tie into your question that you are going to ask us in a bit about. what we think of where the industry is going towards, and as well as if games are finished or not. Because I'll say it then again, Ubisoft is the king of releasing games that are not finished, but they finish it like after release and they make it great games. I think that's one of the main differences, that we're at this point that the industry's changed in with that we have far bigger games. The games are a lot more expensive to produce because we have all these techniques such as performance capture, and we want better audio and better visuals. And God forbid, we don't do that anymore, but we wanted an app so we can continue the experience offline and blah blah blah. Nobody cares about that. But at the beginning of this console cycle, every game used to have an app on my phone that I could play offline. Well, there's a reason I don't want to play offline, because it's called offline. Um, but yeah, so I think that also contributes to this part, that there's such a stark difference between what they got then and what they're getting now. Because yeah, they released two games that flopped: Battleborn and Alien, whatever it was called.
Oh, the
Yeah, Colonial
Colonial
Marine.
Marines.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was also a flop, for example.
yeah.
Yeah,
But then tying in, from my perspective, game game development is always and still is a big gamble. And now the game companies are always strategizing on how to minimize. You can't negate the gamble, but you can minimize the gamble.
yeah,
Before you would have to spend all your resources in making the game, and eventually publishing it and hoping that all the resources that you spent will be returned. Nowadays, and that's why I'm going to ask you guys that questions soon. Um, you see that they're using strategies where they bring the game out sooner so they can already mitigate the amount of risk they're about to take. For example, if they bring out a game and they expected maybe 500,000 players to play and only 100,000 players play, they can actually already see that, okay, this game is might not be the one that we should focus our effort on, and then they'll probably release it anyway, and then and then drop the ball on it.
they can always go
Um,
free to play. That a lot
or
of
go free to play, for example. And
that's kind
me
of like the
personally,
last bailout.
I don't. I really hate the whole free to play concept.
Yeah, I hate it
No,
too.
no, okay, no, I can't say that I hate it, but
Hmm.
I have mixed.
Freemium. Freemium. I don't like freemium.
Yeah, I have a mixed sentiment towards the whole free to play
Yeah,
flooding of games that came in, and normal games that you just pay for and that are complete.
yeah.
But we'll get into that later. Max, you want to say something?
Yeah. I mean, it's they're. I mean, it's not like they're all bad. I am saying that most of them just don't get it. And I mean, if you look at like MMOs, like, because the same similar thing happened with MMOs. They all came out. They all were like, "I want your $15 a month," like World of Warcraft. None of them could do that. The only ones that actually did not ask $15 a month was Guild Wars. The only thing that they did was they asked money for their expansions, which also World of Warcraft does. Sure. But at least with Guild Wars, you buy the game, that's it. You're playing, you don't have to pay a monthly fee when you're online. You're just buying the expansions.
Okay, and then now I'm going to put on my developer hat, and where I feel that causes another problem, because server fees aren't cheap, even for building a similar so small website for hosting. Okay, maybe for 40 €50 a month or a year, but still you have to pay for that. And I feel that because Guild Wars has that buy to play and then no other additional revenue model or monetization system, the content kind of started lacking, in my opinion. I
Really?
have a yeah, I've also played Guild Wars. I have a large catalog of games that I play from indie to whatever, and um, if you compare Guild Wars to, like, for example, World of Warcraft, you can see that World of Warcraft's content wise was consistent, whereas Guild Wars was fluctuating because the amount of income coming in was also unpredictable. Whereas you can having a 15 euros a month. Well, let me ask you guys: would you pay 15 euros a month for a game, or do you feel that you have to only pay once, and that's a live service game, so a game that you play on a server, or do you feel that you should only pay once and that's it?
That's a good
Okay, yeah, that.
question.
See, because there's two ways you can answer it. You can say no because you just want to pay a flat fee and that's it.
Okay, and Sean?
However, well,
Always
however, I will say
love
this:
hearing the answer.
I the only reason that I don't play something like World of Warcraft or basically anything that's an MMO is I don't have the time for that. So I feel that if I paid $15 a month just to play it, like maybe a few hours a week and not every day or multiple times a week, then that's a waste. Because
Okay,
there are people out there that like have lapsed in playing World of Warcraft, but they're still getting charged the 15 a month. So,
okay,
yeah, and no. Yeah,
okay, and Sean, you?
I think for me, it's let me put it this way, and I think that mobile games are the perfect comparison for it. On
Okay,
mobile, you have some games that you pay a flat fee for, and that's it. And you have some games that kind of lure you in, but turn out to be freemium, and then they want you to buy the diamonds or the loot boxes or whatever. And I always hated the freemium part because essential features of the game are locked behind these payment walls. So like if you
yeah,
want to speed something up, you have to buy diamonds. If you want to do this, if you wait 3 days, you can do it. Or if you spend $3, you can do it right now. So that kind of pushes my patience. So that's, so for example, something I hate. Whereas on console, I think it would really be a matter around content. If I can get a steady stream of content for that 15 euros every month, because I have, for example, bought season passes for games, which is in a way a gamble because you're spending 50, $60 on top of a normal game. So, for example, both the division games, I bought this season pass. So they charge you $100 for it instead of the 120. So you get the base game and the season pass. Um, in case of Division One, they made it up with a lot of content. They brought out like really cool content for it, which I enjoyed. As for the Division Two, I played the Division Two initially, and then after a while, I stopped playing it. But then I kept coming back every once in a while, and then I would be able to enjoy that content. But the thing is they said, "Hey, the all the content is going to be free, so the season pass owners will get all the content earlier." At the time when the Division Two came out, if you bought the gold edition, you would have access to the game, I believe, a week or 3 days earlier than the initial launch. I think it's 3 days. So I was in a point like I don't have the patience to wait 3 days. Just take my money and I want to play this game right now. So that's probably why I bought the gold edition. Um, but it like if I can get for $15 a month, I can get steady stream of content that I will enjoy. I'm fine by doing that. But I think in the console space, we're not there yet. That's something that's really big on PC,
it's a
such as
big commitment.
yeah, because it's
mm.
it's in World of Warcraft, it's in the Old Republic. I played some Star Wars Old Republic. I really like
The
that.
Old Republic is not free to play.
Yeah, but you have also
It was for 15. Yeah, you have like the premium thing,
yeah. So if you
but
want, you can play free to play. But if you want, you can also pay the $15 a month and you get
yeah,
extra stuff on top of that. So I
actually
think
that's a better deal because you can choose it. You
yeah,
don't
World of
have to
Warcraft
do
does
it.
that as well.
No, it doesn't.
I me personally, I want a complete game. I don't like the paywall systems that are currently in place. The game should
And
be complete.
I don't
I
mind
don't,
spending a lot of money on it as long as it, as you said, is complete. But
yeah,
Wait, but
that's
then
the
I
whole. Okay.
but then I'm throwing this question back to negative because you and I, we're both like into the Smash,
Hmm.
and they announced the Fighter Pass Season 2. You gonna get it?
Well,
See?
well,
And that's not because the game was complete. Let's be clear here. Smash
yeah,
was a complete game. They were just offering additional characters.
the thing with fighting games in general is that there's a hype momentum or a hype wave that comes with it. So the game can be awesome and full of hype, and then I would be the first in line to get that pack. But now, for example, it's really died down. Then and that goes also for the people that I play with, for example. It's kind of hard for me to say, okay, then I'm going to get it regardless, because like Sean also said, if I can get content that I will enjoy, and the enjoyment part is missing at the moment for Smash. I'm not playing it as much as I used to. So that's kind of so. I'm not negating the fact that maybe the extra fighters is fine and the content is. I'm not judging the quality of the content. I'm just saying that now the enjoyment factor is coming into play, and the enjoyment factor currently isn't there for me to go and purchase the 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 fighter pack. Now you can say, okay, well, but if you maybe buy the fighter pack, the enjoyment will come back. That's an option, but is that a gamble that I'm willing to take? I don't think so.
Okay, fair. That's a fair answer. Cool.
I think we've gotten like through all the articles, so I want to give Negative his moment to ask his question to us.
Yeah, game rivals. I've been listening to your podcast and stuff, and according to Max, you guys have already tackled this topic some time ago, but I kind of missed it. But want to know you guys' opinion in regards to states of the game of gaming in general. Whereas there's currently a kind of a vibe or a wave going on where incomplete games are being released uh, far before their actual full. Yeah, how should I say it?
For they're finished.
um, yeah, the content is just not full. Basically, Max already said it for Animal Crossing. They released Animal Crossing, but they said, "Hey, wait, we need a day one patch before you actually have the full game." Street Fighter Five even had menu options that were grayed out when it got released, so
Ooh.
that would
Wow,
be
Yeah, I
added
remember that.
later.
I did not
Um,
expect that from a fighting game.
huh?
I did not expect that from a fighting game.
It's
Okay,
the
so
worst thing you can expect from a fighting game.
go ahead, guys. Debate. I really want to know what is your vision on this part.
I mean, yeah, you want to go first, Sean? Because
I'll
I got a lot to say.
All
I
right,
can
go.
see Sean is ready to go out guns blazing. So
So I can't rival Max in this case, but like my 2 cents on the matter is that I think it's difficult because there are so many variables in the process that kind of drive a decision like this. So, for example, I mentioned it before. Ubisoft is the king of doing this, but the reason that they're the king of doing is that they kind of make up for it as well. So they released a couple of games over the years, actually this generation, that were actually not finished, but they fixed it in let me
increments.
yeah, let me say like a post launch. So for example, For Honor was a game that got out, it was okay, but it lacked some essential features. For example, a lot of the game is based around multiplayer. They didn't have dedicated servers, so they had peer-to-peer servers, which could cause immense lag. So that's something they added post launch. They added a lot of content post launch. They added a lot of fixes post launch. I think the best game that takes this example is Rainbow Six Siege. When that game came out, it literally tanked. It was maybe one of the worst games Ubisoft had put out there. And now it's so popular that we're in year three. People still buy the year three pass or the year two pass. So they
But
have,
that's
yeah,
sorry, sorry to interrupt, but that's even frustrating more because they bring out a half release game and making you pay for the finalization of the remainder of the game in season passes or
yes,
uh,
I get the way it looks, but I think in this case that I think if the content they did bring out, or if they didn't fix it in the way they did fix it, people wouldn't be willing to spend the money, because in a way you kind of get goodwill from your community, and you kind of get your people to like care and support the game, because if it was really a bad game and it stayed bad, then nobody would pay the season pass, buy the season pass. For example, Anthem and Destiny are also
oh.
perfect examples. Destiny 1 came out, it was an okay game, but it had so many issues. And then the Taken game came out, and that fixed a lot of issues. Same goes for the other expansions and with Destiny 2 as well now. Like I played the first month of Destiny 2 and then I didn't touch it because I didn't. It was too repetitive for me, and yeah, that's kind of the idea behind one of those games, that the grind is there. But they've come out and fixed a lot of issues. In Bungie's case, they even said that becoming independent freed them from a lot of constraints that Activision had put on them. So actually, they can make the best version of Destiny they want to make now than they when they were under Activision's arm. And that's kind of like the other side that I want to touch upon with the variables. I mean, is that sometimes these decisions are business decisions. I mean, it's that an EA says to a BioWare, your game has been in development for so long, you need to put it out right now because we are in development limbo. We cannot keep pushing money into this game. You need to make up for something. So I want you to release Anthem right now, even though it's in a bad state. Because they've
Or
confirmed,
release Mass Effect Andromeda right now
yeah,
because we need to make money.
yeah, because they've confirmed like, hey, we are working on an overhaul for Anthem, and it's because it's Bioware and it has this goodwill. People are willing to give it a second chance. So I hope they don't drop the ball on that one. But I think in a lot of cases it is also mainly driven by business decision. Like the business people on top say, hey, we're bleeding money on that game. We need to see some results for it. And a game developer will always say, I need more time because they want to perfect their game. So they will always say, "Oh, but I need a little bit more time, and a little bit more time, and a little bit more time." Um, so yeah, I think that plays into one. It kind of touches upon early access as well, because of that we have gotten the early access category, which I have really mixed feelings about because sometimes you're literally paying to fund the game that's literally in such a broken state that you can't play it. I bought a game a while back that is literally not playable, so I pissed my money away on that. Um, but that's kind of the risk with early access. So like, yeah, it creates a lot of opportunities. But I think that we don't see all the decisions that are made, or we don't hear all the decisions that are made, and that's why it's as fans or as players, we kind of have this: they took my money, or I feel defrauded or robbed of my money. Um, so yeah, it's kind of like what the developer does afterwards to fix it. I mean, I'm a huge Battlefield fan, and Battlefield 5 when it came out was pretty broken, and they had this kind of road to glory in which they fixed Battlefield, which I'm really happy about. But if they didn't do that, then I probably would not be playing Battlefield anymore.
Okay. Okay, and Max?
Ooh, okay. So, um,
Oh,
okay, I'm just gonna try and keep it as brief as possible because otherwise we're gonna go like into way, way, way over time. But here's how I see things in terms of game development. The way game development works now is that you have a set amount of time, you have a set amount of budget, you have a goal to achieve. Depending on what the goal is in mind, be it a new game, be it a sequel, be it whatever, um, they get different kind of priorities. So like smaller projects will always come out polished and well. Um, Look at stuff like Untitled Goose Game, which won Game of the Year for at Dice. Look at smaller indie titles that do that. The ones that don't do early access. Um, for example, Stardew Valley, stuff like that. Those are clean. They took their time because they're small developers and they don't have a hard deadline to follow. When a hard deadline when the hard deadline follows in the game industry, that's where the problems start to arise. Which is why I like the fact that even the like for example, Nintendo does this all the time where if a game is not up to snuff, they will delay it. Like they'll be honest about it, they'll be transparent about it and delay it. Like the biggest transparency that they've done is that they weren't happy with where the development was going for Metroid Prime 4, and they just reset that development all over again with a new development team, which is the development team that has always done Metroid Prime, which why would you give it to someone anyway? um
uh,
the same thing goes for Animal Crossing. That got delayed because originally it was supposed to come out in 2019, and then when we got the fixed date, they delayed it officially to March 2020. um and that's when we got it, and it's cool and awesome. I'll talk about it later. But with other games that you've seen along the way, if you look at um what's the last game that came out that had the same problem? If you look at, for example, something that came out more recently, uh, what is it called again? What's the last Assassin's Creed game again?
Unity or no? No.
No, no, not Unity. No, not that one. Ooh, wow, that is a very good example of like a rushed development because
Mhm.
that one had bugs for days. Because that one has bugs for days because they had to hit a certain time, but they fixed that by giving themselves more time to develop. Because now they're like, okay, well, every other year instead of every year. Why would you do that? Every other year, we're just going to release um, an Assassin's Creed game, and it has worked wonders for the Assassin's Creed franchise.
It goes the
Because
same for
one,
Call of
it
Duty.
was
They're doing it as
yeah, but
well.
the thing with Call of Duty is they're probably using a engine that they have already perfected to a T, and there are multiple developers working on any given Call of Duty. So they get, I think, every Call of Duty team like Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward, and try
Treyarch.
Triad.
Treyarch. Thank you.
Triad.
Every Call of
Um,
Duty game has 2 years or 3 years of
3 years.
development. Yeah.
It used to be two. It's now
Yeah,
three because
but
you
the
have
funny
three
thing is,
studios.
for example, you're touching on Assassin's Creed. Ubisoft has at sometimes 10 studios working on one Assassin's Creed game. So like
Yeah, but they're
Assassin's
working on
Creed
different
is
aspects of the game,
uh,
which
like
also which is also a blessing and a curse because that also makes even more problems, which annoys the crap out of me. Just stick it in one studio. If you need outside stuff, get the outside stuff done, but have one main studio
when is the
working
last
on
time
it.
you played an Assassin's Creed game?
Well, I did play like a little because I did play a little bit of gosh darn it, I just had the name and
It's
I
so long
forgot it
ago
again.
that you can't even remember the name.
No, don't be that guy, man. Don't be
Is
that
it
guy. No, it was
Origins?
the
Is
last
it
one.
Odyssey?
No, Odyssey. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, you probably played
Yeah,
that on your Switch with the online trial thingy.
yeah.
I knew it.
Hey,
Because
at
it
least
was
I played,
because it was
man.
free, probably.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
free
I
for a
knew
little
it.
bit.
See, you cheap bastard.
But that was a game that worked.
It was the
From
foundation for Stadia.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying that it's a game that actually worked from the get go. So, yeah, you know, take all the time. Like, I know that you have budgets, and I know there's the shareholders that you have to keep happy, but then make sure that work around it. Like, either find a way to restructure or find a way to make game development for your studio work in a way that you have the enough time to work on it. Because
But
if you
that's
don't, then
difficult
you get
because you
stuff
have
like that.
stakeholders. But that's the problem. You don't to make a game you need money, and to have that money you need to either have an investor or a publisher, and that's somebody that's kind of like, hey, you told me this game would be done in 2 years. We're 4 years ahead now, or we're 4 years into the future. Where's my game? So I want to see some results. So that's, I think, the whole issue behind it. If you're
Or
an
you can be
indie,
CD Projekt Red and have your own game store like Steam.
yeah, but they have a game store. I mean, come on.
I'm just saying. Also, that's something that I only just recently found out about. That
Did
Good
you
Old Games is
seriously
owned
know that
by.
then?
I did not know that.
Oh my god.
That explains so much.
I mean, that's why they can like take a year.
That's why they can afford that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because even
Which is
though,
fine because their games end up being great.
yeah, they kind of have the when it's done mentality, and they can bleed the money. So why not?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Did we
Nice.
answer your question this way?
To a certain extent, yeah. Was funny. To a certain extent. Thank you for delving into it.
Thank you for asking the
Yeah.
question.
No
Do you
Uh,
have
problem.
any questions for me?
um, how would you look at this from a PC? Because I heard you're mainly a PC gamer, right?
Yes,
How
correct.
would you look at this from a PC gamer point of view? Because the games I kind of mentioned, they have some games on a PC, but you see these issues more on consoles, I think, than on PC.
No, I disagree on that part. You actually see the same problem on PC as well. Um, from a PC perspective, yeah, maybe I'm going to be too opinionated, but I find it to a certain extent, I understand it based on the points that you guys made in from a business perspective or a management perspective. Like I already stated before, that um, game development is a risk. But you want to start a game, you first have to invest resources without knowing your return on investment. So I can understand that they're trying to mitigate the risk. They cannot negate it, but they can mitigate it by releasing early, seeing how many people are playing, and then from that and have an initial or additional funding because people buy the unreleased pre-game, and then have an additional funding to continue development, or say, okay, just leave it and go free to play, and then make a cash up to gain some more momentum or some.
It's actually funny that you're touching on this because I just thought of that we had some games come out in an episodic format, but it apparently doesn't work so well because
Mm,
it isn't as big as you would expect or hope it to be.
exactly. That's
Because this
and
is exactly episodic format what you're talking.
Yeah, and that's also the whole thing with when you mentioned it. Uh, I'm really pleased that you dare to mention the name Anthem in this podcast, because that was
Oh,
definitely.
we've had it on before.
Yeah, that was the, and I still have a hope for that game. I really hope that they do. I'm also one of those people that are willing to give it a second chance. But the question still remains: if they were to revamp it and then ask another 40 euros or 30 euros, would
I
you
think
guys
they
pay for
can
it?
do that. And
I think they're going to go the No Man's Sky route. So basically, it's an update to people that own the game,
because
because
the
that's the only way
stories
you can go
are
for it.
they
But
don't know what to the stories were that they didn't know what to do. Were they just going to do this 2.0 update for free, or were they going to do an expansion for 30 bucks and then fix it in that? I
Oh
think
god,
people are maybe willing to do the 30 bucks, but
no,
if
no,
they
no, 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 no.
there you go, man. That's your answer. That's your answer.
I'm sorry.
as a PC gamer, you can get Origin Access Premium and then you just pay 15 bucks for once and then you can play it for the month.
Uh, that would okay, but then you're still paying. That's the whole
Yeah,
aspect.
yeah, yeah, but
No,
then
you're
you
paying for a service, not for the game.
yeah you have a whole catalog of games you can play on top of that, and in that
Yeah,
catalog is Anthem
that's that's
because
part
that's
of
how
the
I did
learning.
it. That's
But
how I did it when it came out.
but that's a very good that's a actually probably a better approach if they were to tell EA, hey, listen, we want to add it to the premium packet of Origin. So one, we still get, can we get 2 euros of every person that has the Origin access, so that we also have
Yeah,
additional funding, and therefore we can launch it. But I think you're going to get a lot of gamers still angry because yeah, they are still hurt from the initial
I,
Anthem.
I think the reason people are going to be hurt is because when Taken King came out, this Bungie was constantly adding content, and then Taken King was this big content update. But in the
Yeah.
meanwhile, you still had content coming in. Anthem is basically dead right now. There's literally no content. I don't know if they fixed it by now, but like until a
Oh,
few weeks ago, there was still Christmas trees in the game because
yeah.
of the
Yeah.
Christmas event. I don't know
Is
if
it
Yeah.
it's
still
still
there?
there. I don't
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah. It still is. So I
yeah, so
actually,
like
No!
so
yeah.
basically they've said like we're not going to do any content. So I think that you throw your free will, your goodwill out of the door, out of the window and say like, hey man, we want you to I think it's going to go to 30 bucks route. So like we want you to pay 30 bucks for this expansion and we promise you this expansion is going to be amazing, but it's going to cost you 30 bucks.
No, if they do, yeah, that could actually kill a
Ooh,
company. Not
ooh,
to,
that is rough.
yeah,
I
that
think
would kill.
it's do or die. If they drop the ball on this, then EA will probably close BioWare.
Wait,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
so
that
bad.
could actually kill a guy. And I don't really have anything against Bioware. I started my first Bioware game being Neverwinter Nights, and I still don't know where to categorize that game. Is it an MMO? Is it, I don't know, but and that game was full and rich and entailing. And I think before that. Was Baldur's Gate and stuff also from Bioware?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's also Bioware.
yeah.
Okay, then I've played
Well,
that as well.
the first two Baldur games, the first two Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate years.
So I really want to give him a chance, and especially because I like the whole concept in regards to Anthem. Even if they make it a Destiny clone and a looter shooter, I shouldn't even pronounce that term, but I would definitely enjoy it. But the thing is that it has to have an like Sean says an immense amount of content. The world needs to be like 5 times as big and stuff like that. It has more dungeons, and those dungeons need to have some goal. The story needs to be more impactful. It's going to take a lot of work, and if they were to say by next 2021 it will be done, I would be very surprised because that would mean that the game isn't at the point that it's supposed to be.
We
Yeah.
maybe we can get an update around EA Play, which is in June, because
This
EA,
year?
yeah,
Well, no, like an update on the status,
yeah, yeah,
not like
yeah,
an update on the game.
yeah. That's
Oh,
what I mean. Like, hey, they might show. No, no, no. I don't mean it's
An
gonna come
update
out
on the
this year.
status of production, not
Yeah,
on the
or
oh,
game itself.
like an announcement or a trailer. Like, hey, this is what we're working on.
yeah, but
Um,
no, I don't feel that they should go that route anymore. They should not do any trailer or any form of
Until they're ready.
hype building because I still remember the times where I just go on YouTube and some person has a YouTube video with two screens of Anthem trailer and Anthem what it became uh,
oh
uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so no,
Oh, trailer comparisons.
yeah, yeah, and that also segues into a smaller question that I also have is into game hype and hype. How are you guys coping with game hype? Are you sensitive towards it, or are you guys being game rivals? Are you just uh, how do you say it? It doesn't affect you or bother you at any moment. Like for example, for Max, I would say no. For John Templar, I would say The Last of Us Two.
Guy literally weeping over a delay. What more can
Can
you?
I literally just rewind an hour ago and then just play that segment again? Because
Openly weeping here.
And for you, the let's say the fighter pack of Smash won't come out.
Not the end of the world, but I would be disappointed.
if
Okay.
if I mean, like, it's not gonna get a release date, or it doesn't have a release date.
And it's not like it's not like I'm not sensitive to hype. Like for example, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. That limited edition for Europe is like, oh, that is peak hype for me. It has a vinyl in it. Like that gets me excited.
Why do you have to use the name Xenoblade
As
stuff like that? Because me being an old head, my thing that still makes me cry up until today is the fact that I will never, and I mean never ever, get to see a remake of Xenogears.
you think you're the only one who's sad about that fact?
Yeah, Sean
Join
You're not the
Templar
only
is,
one
join
who's
us
sad
a
about that.
moment.
Sean
He
Templar
might
is
not be, but
laughing.
I am. Sean might not be, but I am.
You know
I
how
think
painful that is.
I think that for Max it will be like, and this is just speculation, but I think that's the only move Nintendo can make. I think that Breath of the Wild sequel is coming out this year. It's going to be around the holiday season because that's their only gun they can play. Show like, oh, you have Xbox One X and or whatever it's called, and PlayStation 5. We have Zelda, and I think a lot of people are waiting for that, and a lot of people will buy it. And I think for Max, if that game gets pushed into next year, then he'll have what I had with The Last of Us.
Oh.
Well, how can I have that if I don't even have a release date?
But that's why I'm saying, like, I feel really strongly it's gonna come out this year. Um, but
Mm.
like, if they tell you,
Here's my deal. As long as they don't announce a release date, I'm fine. It's all good. They don't have to force a release date like Sony did.
and on that note, we're at the end of this segment.
Okay.
Of this extra long segment.
No,
But
but
thank you guys for answering the questions.
they were good questions.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you.
for the questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good. Does anyone have anything they want to share before we move on to the next segment?
Yeah,
No, I'm good. So how about you, Negative?
yeah. Please, for the love of God, if any game company is listening to this podcast, I really asking you especially Square Enix, find some ways to fund and make Xenogears a remake.
They did it for Final Fantasy VII. They can do it for this.
Yeah, but the problem is the core company of Xenogears is Monolith Soft, and yeah.
Yeah. They can be nice with Nintendo. They've been more nicer with Nintendo now than before.
Why,
So,
why are
but
you
I'll
bring,
get, but
why are you
I'll
bringing
get,
Nintendo in?
because Nintendo owns Monolith.
Yeah, but still, we were talking about Xenogears. It had nothing to do with Nintendo. Xenogears
It
was a
has
PlayStation.
if you're talking about Monolith.
Xenogears was a PlayStation only game. Sean, back me up.
I don't know which game it is, but I'm backing this guy up.
I talked about it in one of my hidden gems. You forgot already?
What is your unless you already stated it? What is your all-time favorite game? What is the
mine?
game that is really that if I tell you when we're talking about gaming, that's the first one to pop up in your head?
Oh, it's an easy one. Metal Gear Solid.
The first one?
Yeah.
Okay, I can understand that one. And you?
Because after that, it kind of completely went the most craziest part and where it is. I mean, like, not even to talk about what they did with Metal Gear 5.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, they made a Twin Snakes remake, yeah, for the GameCube. There are
Yeah,
rumors
yeah.
floating around that the I forgot the name of the studio. There's this studio that makes a lot of remakes, and they make like the really really good remakes. They also did Shadow of the Colossus. I think it's Blue Moon Studios or something like that.
No.
Um,
I don't know, but they like around Halloween they came out with this really cryptic tweet in which they had this riddle that contained multiple names or references to different kinds of games in it. So Silent Hill was in there, Castlevania was in there, Metal Gear was in there. So there is some speculation that these games might see a remake, which I
I thought that
honestly
was
hope.
debunked.
I don't know. I didn't hear anything about it, but I kind of do hope it's that because I would seriously pay top dollar for a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake.
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
but a remake in the sense that it still keeps the whole setting as it is in the original game, or that they 3Dify it, or let's say realistify it. Uh,
I
Well,
wouldn't
that's
mind if they
if
bump up the graphics a bit.
you're asking the difference between a remake and a remaster.
yeah, but the Final Fantasy VII, they're calling it a
Is
remake.
that's a remake because that is like completely different.
Yeah, I would want it to
And
be a
a
remake.
remaster is like, for example, Resident Evil 4 HD. That's a remaster.
Okay,
That's probably
okay.
the most milked out remaster, by the way. But hey, it's funny
Okay.
that you said the other day. I really hope that Capcom remasters Resident Evil 4. I'm like,
No,
well,
remakes Resident Evil 4 like
whatever.
they
I'm
did with
like,
2 and
dude, man,
3.
they made so many. The game has come out on every console known to man by now. So why would they still bring out that game again?
Oh,
Because then
I
they can
saw
say all of them are on PlayStation.
I saw a lot of
Exactly.
posts based of gamers saying, "Please, Capcom, don't remake or remaster Resident Evil 4." So it's
I
kind of
don't hope
funny.
so. I think
Really?
that like the code on that game is just burned up. I mean, like so with like kind of like with a hard drive that you can only use it for so many years, and then the disk just dies because it's just totally worn out. I think the code on Resident Evil 4 is just worn out. So if you like try to alter anything in that code or to copy it, it just wipes itself or something like that. Because no man, it's enough. I can't take this shit anymore. I've been on all consoles. I feel lived out. I'm kind of like a prostitute because I've been on everything. I don't want it anymore.
Great white, great word choice there,
I
Sean.
know, I know.
Resident
Anyways,
Evil. Yeah, go on.
no, no,
All
no.
right, let's wrap this up
Yeah,
and go
let's
to
say
the
your
next
last thing
segment.
and then we'll wrap it up. You
All
wanted
right.
to say something or?
No, I'm finished. I'm finished.
Okay, cool.
Okay, okay.
Cool. Stick
So
around. We'll be back with what we have been playing.
and we're back with the second segment, which is what we've been playing. So, Sean Templar, what have you been playing? And
Even
don't say you haven't played anything because we're not going anywhere anytime soon.
well, the funny thing is Normally before this quarantine situation, I would always say I don't have time to play anything, and now I have a lot of time, but I'm not playing a lot because I kind of get bored the whole time. So I've tried to force myself to play some games. After I finished Death Stranding a couple of weeks ago, I started playing Days Gone again. I finished Days Gone last week. Took me
How
around
was
a
it?
week. Um, I, for I bought it for $30, and for $30, it's an amazing game. Um, I said in a previous episode, I said like, hey, the characters are pretty lifeless. So like, I saved a couple of extra hostages these times. They were either fighting off the freakers or we trapped in a car and they're like, help me, and then you save them, and then they look at you and it's like, oh my god, thank you so much for saving me. I don't know what to do. Where should I go right now? And like, you can see that they didn't pay a lot of attention or put a lot of attention or time and effort into making that moment a little bit more rewarding for you. So it kind of feels really out of sync with the rest of the game. Um, I've actually had some moments in which you have these massive hordes in the game that are kind of like in the movie World War Z, that you see hundreds of these freakers coming at you and you literally have to take them out because that's part of the objective. And then you're constantly screaming because you don't know what you have to do because they just keep coming at you like ants swarming a nest or something. It's pretty intense to do that. It's really fun, but it's pretty intense. Um, and the funny thing is that when you play the game, you in the story find out how the world got into the situation that it got into, and it almost felt like strange to play this game at this time because basically how it works is there's this company developing something. An intern in that company isn't doesn't agree with what they're doing, so he wants to blow the whistle on that. He, in a way, gets infected with that what they're developing. He goes to this conference where he wants to blow the whistle, but inadvertently he infects everybody there. Everybody goes home. The infection spreads, and before you know it, freakers appear. I'm like, wow, that's kind of strange because it kind of feels like COVID-19 esque situations where we are in right now. That people are infected and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a cool open world. There's this part in the game that you kind of move into a second area um, of the map, and it really felt like in that moment that the game really came alive. So it's a shame that it took so long for the game to build up to that moment, and then that moment's pretty short.
How
So
many hours were you in at that time?
I think I actually don't know, but it's like there's like a clear part one and a part two, and it really takes long to get to part two. Part two is really fun, but it feels like it's taking too long to get there.
Hmm.
Because also
Okay.
that some of the missions are just repetitive. Go there, kill this guy because you're a bounty hunter, or we've lost somebody. Go there, find that person, and bring him back. And I understand in open world games it's difficult to design these missions that need to be full of variety. But I think that they could have done a bit more on that side. Um,
So this is the game that they did back before it released, that they were showing the trailers and the tech demos of the freakers swarming. Is that still there?
yeah, that's
Is it
what
still that
yeah,
intense?
that's a horde. So they call it a horde,
Yeah.
and you have to take on a couple of those in the game. And sometimes you find them by random, and sometimes you just have to do it because it's a mission. I can tell you, it's really intense. I was constantly screaming behind my TV because I was being swarmed by the guys. It's really fun, but
Because you're a big scaredy cat.
no. It's just intense to have like hundreds of these things coming at you.
Yeah.
um, Besides that, I've started to play Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Um, I like the game. It feels a lot more accessible and entry level, kind of compared to a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne or whatever. Um, it's still a little bit. I notice in my playstyle that I'm too action oriented, so there's like a flow of combat, so you have to kind of look at the opponent, learn his moves, kind of learn his pattern, and based on his pattern you attack him, or it's a lot of deflecting and countering and stuff like that. And I'm constantly just mashing the button, try to do as much damage, but it's not an action RPG. It's like really something else. So I keep going in and out of the game. I will try to finish the game because I do kind of like the setting. But yeah, it's kind of testing my patience. I've also been playing some Warzone together with you, of course. That was really fun. We've actually got a lot of kills in those matches.
Yeah, we
Um,
did
the blood money.
the blood money. Wow, that one was really fun.
Yeah, I didn't expect that because we've been playing mainly Battle Royale, but Blood Money is this mode in which you just have to capture as much money as you can and then deposit it either in a balloon or call a chopper and deposit it. And the team that gets to 1 million first wins. Um, it felt
Gets to a million first and maintains
Oh yeah,
wins.
yeah, and it's cool because you can just use your loadouts. You can respawn. It adds a lot more dynamic combat to it because you're constantly like thinking, okay, I have a lot of money. Should I use this money or should I deposit this money or should I hoard it some more so I can do like this big drop? So you're constantly kind of thinking, what should I do? What should I do? And at the same time, those drop points are like nesting grounds for enemies just waiting for you to either call in a chopper or to kill you and steal your money. uh, I actually yesterday I played with a couple of friends of mine, and I had my first Warzone victory. So that felt really
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
finally.
that felt really good. Yeah, um, it's really cool when you get to the Warzone victory. Then this helicopter swarms in, drops a rope, and then you extract via that rope, and it's kind of like an end credit scene that you see all the players that have died before. So it says in memoriam of, and then you see all those players like scrolling down, like it's the credit scene from
Okay.
a movie, and then you see your squad in that chopper, like really cool and cinematic, and you see the chopper so flying away. They really did that in a fun way.
Okay.
And last but not least, I have been playing Total War Three Kingdoms again.
Because China will not glow larger itself.
China will definitely not go to Raja. So I've actually doing two campaigns right now. So I had my second campaign, and we've come to this point in that campaign that there are literally three kingdoms. And I told you guys this before offline just now. Like there's this fragile piece. There's this one big kingdom, one smaller kingdom, and then there is me. This small kingdom is getting his ass kicked, and there both kingdoms are constantly asking me to join in on their war on their side. I'm constantly like, no, no, I'm Switzerland. No, I don't do that. But at the same time, I'm scheming because I'm trying to build this massive, super advanced army that once I get to the point that that second kingdom is wiped out, that I just full fledged launch an assault and try to take out the other kingdom. And at the same time, I started a different campaign with a whole different character because both campaigns I started with both the same character, and now I've tried to play with a completely different character. His attributes are focused more on diplomacy, on being more of this kind of guy that instigate proxy wars, and he's more like in the background, and he's trying to put people up against each other, constantly poking people like, oh, did you hear he said that about you? Maybe you should attack him, or maybe you should invade him, or maybe you should declare war on him. So I'm kind of playing with a character like that. So it's completely different because my previous style has been mainly focused around battle and combat, and this is more spies and diplomacy. I'm actually thinking about doing a gameplay video on that to put up on our YouTube channel. So if people want to see that, let us know. That'll be fun, I think.
Yeah, you should do that. I mean, I watched you play a while ago, and I was like, "Dang, that's some." You had some really cool tactics there, even though the odds were against you.
That's why I love the game. Like I've had these. My playstyle is super simple. If the computer says I can win the battle, I just delegate it, so I auto resolve it because I don't want to do every battle. And if it's a situation in which the computer says, "Well, you're definitely not going to win this one," then I always say like, "Well, we'll see about that." And then generally,
Hold my beer, CPU.
like generally I win those battles, but it takes a lot of time to win them. But when I do, it just feels so satisfying.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, maybe I'll get be able to capture that, and people can see that as
yeah. All right, cool. I look forward to it, anyways.
well. That's
Yeah.
basically my quick recap of what I have been playing. I don't know who's up next, but I'm dying to hear.
Negative. You wanna go? You wanna tell us about the games that you've been playing?
Yeah, well, for starters, I need to preface this with saying that my catalog of games is quite large, so I'm just going to try and um tone it down a little bit. The last game I've recently been playing excuse me, is Brawlhalla, and basically, yeah. Um, I'm a more of a multiplayer type of guy. I don't like playing single player games, although I'm going to state one later on. Yeah, and what I'm basically doing is kicking people's ass. Oh, sorry for the language. And
No, that's fine. That's borderline.
and yeah, I don't know if Max have ever mentioned this in this podcast because I didn't check all of them, but I'm also planning on maybe doing another tourney or organizing another tournament for Brawlhalla. So if you guys are interested, would be of course you'll be more than welcome.
Is that a
Yeah.
fighting
But
game?
I
I don't
will,
know that game, by the way.
Brawlhalla is basically a Smash Brothers clone, but in like the very farthest definition of it is that you have a bunch of. I think you can have a maximum of 8 players
Yeah.
just on
yeah,
one platform attacking each other, and the point is to KO the person off stage, and like
Oh.
that's as
it,
far as the analogy goes.
it basically is the yeah of
Yeah,
using the Smash format of fighting games. It's not like
yeah,
Street Fighter and stuff like that. But yeah, the only difference is that um, where Smash has more mechanics in regards to character weight and or character type and stuff like that. In Brawlhalla, the emphasis is more on its weapons, and you have every character has two weapon types. The weapons drop randomly during the fight, and you pick a weapon, and then that weapon has its specials and stuff like that related to it. And all character base models are basically the same. Although there are some statistics that are different per character, most of it is basically the same. Every character dashes the same, dodges the same, and stuff like that. There is no additional mechanic for that as well.
I am
yeah.
looking at a trailer right now. It's free to play and it also supports crossplay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's free to play in the sense that you can play it for free, but you have a limited amount of characters that you can choose from. You can buy a packet that gets you all characters,
Hmm.
but that excludes crossover characters, which are the ones that I want the most.
Yeah,
Like, for
there's a
example, they
Tomb Raider
added a while
character.
back, they added Lara Croft, they
Yeah.
added Tomb Raider characters. They also added Steven Universe, which I was like, oh, that is so awesome. And then I looked up how much it cost individually per character. And then I was like, you know what? I'm good. Because it's like $12 a character. Even Smash is at least more forgiving, and you get a stage and and a song selection with that
Yeah,
for $6.
well,
And
now
these
I
are
have
licensed characters for crying out
well
loud.
now I have to step in a little because otherwise Blue Soft, or I don't know, remember the name of the company that builds Brawlhalla. In this case, you get the whole game for free to a certain extent. Just the characters is the main issue, whereas in Smash you have to buy the game and afterwards also pay for some additional characters. So yeah, monetization differences are very intact here. You have, of course, also additional, and that's where SeanTemplar might have some frowning eyes, a cash shop for skins and stuff like that. But that's mainly it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the recent game that I've been playing. Other games that I've also been playing. I went back to delve into the Division 2. I
Oh,
haven't
nice.
bought the I haven't
Wait, on
bought the
which platform? On
PC.
PC?
Yeah,
Oh.
I
Does
yeah,
that have
actually
cross
have
platform?
I have it on PC as well. I've mainly played on PlayStation, but I recently bought it for like $3 on Uplay for a PC.
That doesn't have
yeah.
crossplay, does it?
Nope.
No, no, no,
Dang it.
no.
I only have it on
So
PlayStation.
I delved back in there. I didn't buy the expansion yet. I just wanted to see if I would have a feel for it, but I didn't. So that didn't last long. I will say though that I do feel that they really put some effort into the game. I read an article where there are many players frowning upon the developers, stating that they made some changes that were really bad or that actually put a big dent into the game, and that they wanted to fix fix that between codes in the new expansion that has come out, so the New York
The one
expansion,
from New
because
York.
they
Yeah.
before and maybe Sean you can add on to it if you still played during those bad times, but before there were talents on armor pieces and weapons and stuff like that, and for some strange reason when I went back in there I noticed that all the talents were revamped and a lot were missing. So I'm guessing that maybe the players were angry because the amount of talents that they used to farm or they spend a lot of time farming went missing all of a sudden.
Um, so I have noticed that there are indeed other talents in it. The
Hmm.
funny thing is that I forgot to mention it, but I finished Warlords of New York last week as well. Now that you just
You have the
mentioned it,
expansion.
yeah, I finished it last week. I totally forgot to talk about it just now. But
Hmm.
I feel like the talents that are added to the game now are far more useful than the previous talents, because in some cases in the previous situation I would get talents on a weapon. I'm like, I really like this gun, but I really don't like the talents. I'll just stick with my old gun because that's more tailored to my play style. So I have a stronger weapon, but I don't use it because it's not a complete weapon or an armor piece. And I felt now that they really had changed that in a bit, that all the talents that roll with the weapons or the gear is far more useful. So you're more prone to use it. There are, for example, there's one talent I love that if you're 2 meters or 5 meters away from a certain carrot from an enemy, then the damage done by the weapon increases by X amount of percent, and it multiplies that by X amount of
The
distance
distance.
that you're away.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
feels like then you have like a super strong weapon all of a sudden, but it's like, okay, you have to be in a certain distance to be able to use that. So it changes up the playstyle, because I'm more of the assault guy, so I just rush at a target instead of sit in the back
Sure.
with a sniper rifle or with a DMR. So I'm like constantly playing with assault rifles and submachine guns.
Okay, yeah, yeah. It also adds to the strategy element of the game,
Yeah,
which was kind of lacking before.
yeah,
Basically, before you would just hide in a corner, shoot, 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 kill
yeah,
everything, move on. And now you have distancing in your weapon to maximize your
yeah.
output.
The enemies are far more aggressive as well, because I died a lot in the last few parts of the game because of
Hmm.
the enemies being so aggressive, constantly pushing me to change my position. Whereas in the beginning, you could always just sit in the corner and just shoot them all.
Exactly. Yeah. So that I do think that there are added additions to the game that I didn't know before, but still didn't really capture my attention long enough to make me go back or buy the expansion. And the
I
last
would I
recent game.
would advise the expansion, because the funny thing is I played the expansion, and the way the expansion is presented is you have four lieutenants that you have to kill, and then they will tell you where Aaron Keener is, and then you have to fight against Aaron Keener, obviously, and then
Mhm.
there's a lot of missions involved. I thought that the game would just end there, but funnily the game kind of starts there. So there's this huge end game that I wasn't
Oh.
really aware of coming
Oh,
after the game finishes. So I thought, oh,
Oh.
okay, I'll just finish this game, and I'll just play something else. And then you get this cutscene, and then it introduces a mechanic to the game called seasons. And then I'm like, holy crap, this is like a whole new layer on top of the game that I didn't expect to show
okay.
up. So I would definitely advise it.
Yeah, but is it also is it more group based content? Basically stating that that end game that you're talking about, is it like, for example, raids are for Destiny?
Well, funnily enough, I've played the whole expansion alone, and I played a little bit of the end game alone. And sometimes when I do the challenging missions, I matchmake into it because it's easier.
Hmm.
But you can generally play either alone, or at least let me put it: the first part of the expansion you can finish on your own, and then
Hmm.
maybe for the end game stuff, I would advise you to either play with friends or matchmake into it, because it just
Okay.
makes it easier and more tolerable for you.
Okay, okay. And the last game that I want to talk about, that I recently played, is not really recent, but as basically when I converted my PlayStation 4 to a PlayStation Pro, I a game that I never knew of or never heard of, Persona 5.
Oh my god, you play
Oh
Persona
my
5?
god, no.
I
You shouldn't
actually
have mentioned that.
it took a long it was a long time
Wait,
ago
wait,
that
did
I
you are you playing Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal?
five just five. I haven't played Royal yet. But
Wow.
five,
Okay.
five, I must say, um, it's really high up in the list. If I have to be honest, because I never knew about that game type or that whole story based driven, and I
Okay,
actually
this is your first Persona game.
this is my very first Persona game, and
Oh,
I
exciting!
and I actually finished it, completed it 100%, doing all side missions and everything with it because it was so engaging, so entailing. I actually learned that I really love story-driven games for for some strange reason. Maybe that's also why my love for Xenogears is so high because the story was just so amazing. But
You think?
Persona 5 and the whole action decision making and having consequences based on the decisions that you made, and also the small RPG elements that are in there, it was awesome. It was a real awesome experience. I would advise everybody to play it. It does take a long time to play because you are basically action based on reading a lot, but it's well worth it. After I finished it, I even made a screenshot of me completing it fully. I didn't start a New Game Plus, but um, I would definitely probably do another playthrough in New Game Plus just for that game. And that's also the only game that I actually played on my PlayStation after I got the Pro version. I haven't played
And
any
what
other.
I would recommend, because that's what everybody's like, everybody like every every friend that I have that is into JRPGs bought bought Persona 5 Royal is like, dude, just get Royal. Like just get Royal because it is like the best game ever
But is it the same
remastered.
game?
It's basically the same game, but they added like a bunch of content.
Oh, he used the S word. Oh no.
But okay, so basically you're asking me to pay for the exact same game with just a little bit more content.
No, like not a little bit, like a lot. Basically,
Okay.
because here's the thing: you have to remember that Persona is made by a Japanese developer, and Japanese developers have not completely adopted the DLC mechanic.
Hmm.
So what they do instead is they'll re-release a game with like a whole bunch of stuff, and they'll remix it.
Okay.
That's what Persona 5 Royal is.
Okay. Well, you have
Yeah,
Royal.
no, I don't,
So
because they kept teasing that Royal was coming to Switch, and then they switched bait and switched us with Scramble, and I'm still very pissed off about that.
okay. So
So
you're advising me
yeah,
to buy something that you're not buying yourself.
if it ends up never coming to Switch, I will get it for my PlayStation 4. I'm fine with that. But yeah, people are like, dude, you gotta play it. I'm like, I'm holding out hope for Atlas to announce it for Switch, and if they don't, I'll get it on PlayStation.
Okay. Okay.
Have you ever played Horizon Zero Dawn?
Who, me or Max?
I actually gave Max it for his birthday because he never played it. So in this case, you negative.
No. Also, there's a lot of people harassing me, stating that if you haven't played it, you're not allowed to be even to be speaking about games.
Oh, Pella
So,
did the same to
Dang.
Maximilian. So I
so,
haven't. And I think
so,
it's in sale right now on the PlayStation Store. If you have a PS4 Pro, I don't know if you have a 4K TV or a 4K
I
HDR
do,
TV,
I
but
do.
that is one of the game. I think that is next to God of War the best game that shows like what a PS4 Pro can do in 4K and in HDR. Besides it being an amazing fun game, but it looks
Yeah.
so
I can attest to that. I actually
so
enjoyed that game
gorgeous.
a
It
lot.
is. I think it's the technically the best PS4 game that there is because they've done so much from a technical point of view, and the game is also a little small. So like from a size point of view, okay, it doesn't take up 200 gigabytes on your hard drive. It's like a
Hmm.
50 gigabyte game, which is bonkers because Call of Duty is 150 gigs almost, and it's not as big as that game. But
Okay.
if you want to play an open world RPG, I
Yeah.
recommend you play that game because you will love it.
Okay. Okay. I'll definitely do that. And
Yeah,
then
I'll, I'll
if you guys ever invite me back,
Well,
I'll
yeah, we're gonna do
inform
I
that.
you
can
how I
I can
felt.
I can vouch for the fact that Zero Dawn is like a really good game. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
I'll
Well, since
definitely
he
get
can vouch for it, it'll probably be amazing. It kind of got his seal of approval now.
that.
Yeah, very funny. It still took me a couple of months to finish it, but that's because time constraints and whatnot.
Okay. But what have you been playing, Max?
Well, the same as I've been doing since it came out, Animal Crossing for the most part. My island, I'm now about 3 weeks into the game, so I'm actually able to terraform. I can do paths. I can make cliffs and remodel them and reshape my island into my own paradise image if I want to, which I
I,
probably have to because my island ranking is stuck at 3 out of 5.
I'm
And
still wonder where did that hype come from for this game? I'm
two
baffled.
reasons. Two
Yeah.
reasons. One, people don't like being stressed, especially in a stressful time. And cute always wins.
Hmm.
It's the most like adorable game that you can ever play. And there's no pressure to do anything that you don't want to, even though you do get saddled with a lot of debt when you expand your house. You don't there's no rent on it. There you don't have to worry about late fees. You can pay for it whenever. So basically you can just live your island life and just live your villager life and just go around catching bugs, digging up fossils, catching fish and just decorating your house and decorating the island the way you see fit and interacting with these characters that come to your island that live there that have unique personalities. For example, one of my villagers, one of the first villagers that came in there, Shari, is this cute little chimp. She is the only villager that wakes up late. Like every villager will wake up at the crack of dawn and they'll be out either at home just eating breakfast or they're out running about because they're like the sporty type. But she's the only one that sleeps in until at least 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock sometimes, and that really annoys me because sometimes you have to like you sometimes have to talk to villagers, and then she's the only one that I'm not being talking to like at all. And it's like, come on, Shari, get out of bed, man. Get out. We need to talk. I need to give you stuff. You need to be proactive, man. And then when she comes out, as soon as you talk to her twice, she's like, "Wow, you're talking to me a lot." It's like, no, this is like literally the second time I'm talking to you today. Nobody else complains to me when I'm talking to them like once or twice. In fact, some of them, if I accidentally skip them one day and I talk to them the next day, they're like, "Hey, I saw you around, but you didn't come and talk to me. What's up with that?" I'm like, yo,
Is this
there's like a
really
bunch of
a
you
game that
guys.
does this?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
I'm
but the
lifelike.
I'm
but
still
the fun
baffled.
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like, I can talk about Animal Crossing, but Animal Crossing is one of those games that you have to experience for yourself. Like, even like you guys know, even J Prof, even J Prof was like, "Oh, I'm not sure about this game," and he never played an Animal Crossing game before. And then I convinced him to pick up New Horizons, and then he started playing it. He's like, "Oh, okay, I get the gist of it. I get why people are way into like getting their house the way it is, getting their island the way it is." To be fair, he's also been cheating by time traveling, but his island looks amazing. He has like a cool house. Um,
Basically, I'm playing a game that actually mimics things that I would have to do here in real life, like cleaning my house and
well, you don't have to
getting
clean your house. You just have
utilities.
to. You just have to decorate it.
Okay,
And like
okay,
I said, it's like very zen because it's a life simulator. It's very zen. Like
okay.
everything about it is to invoke a zen state of mind, from the
Hmm.
music to the surroundings. Like everything is very pastel and very pretty. um
Pretty.
but for some reason the bugs and the fish and the fossils are the most, like, they look kind of out of place because they react realistically. Like you'll see if you can set up, for example, a museum in the game, and you can donate stuff to the museum, and you can donate fossils, so it's set up. You can donate fish, you can donate um bugs. So for example, if you go to the fish area of the museum, when I caught an a anchovy, like one anchovy, and I donated it to the museum. They have this huge tank with a whole school of anchovy, and they're realistically swimming around like a school of fish, which is bonkers. Like the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen in an Animal Crossing game. And it's like, why is this amazing looking thing in this very zen game about just living life?
Sorry, I'm so,
I
I'm
don't
really
care that
fast.
you're laughing.
No,
I
no,
don't care
I'm,
that you're
I'm
laughing. Like,
fascinated by your enthusiasm of it. But for me, I'm still trying to grasp the concept of what makes it
anybody
so
who's played an Animal Crossing game will understand exactly where I'm coming from. That's
okay.
all I'm saying.
Okay,
So
so
I've been playing
why
that
isn't Sean Templar not playing?
because he sold his Switch
Okay,
twice.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I'm
He
guessing
bought a
that.
Switch, then sold it, bought a new Switch, sold it again.
Yeah,
I'm
basically
gonna
there
be
was no staying
honest.
power.
It's just like I tried, but it's just basically that there aren't a lot of games on this, and I've used this argument a lot of times. But the amount of Switch games out there are so limited that justifies owning a Switch for me because a lot of the games like, oh, this game is also available on PS4. And oh wait, it's cheaper on PS4 because the Switch version is a remaster of this PS4 version. I'm looking at you, Dragon Quest, because we had this argument. I said I can buy Dragon Quest for 70 or 60 bucks on the Switch, or I can buy it for
But it's
30
not the
bucks.
complete version.
I don't care. It's the base game and it costs
It's not
30
the base
bucks
game, it's
less.
the complete version.
No,
It's the
it's
only way you can get the complete
no,
version.
I don't care about the complete version because I can't finish the damn story for 30 bucks less. And that I had that with a lot of games like Dragon Quest Builders. Oh, wait, this is also available on PS4 and it's more prettier and it's with a real controller. And like the
It's
only
a
game
real
I
controller.
really liked on the Switch is Zelda. I mean, I would love for Sony to buy Nintendo, dismantle the whole company, but just bring out Zelda for the PlayStation. I mean, I would
Yeah,
love for
never
that to
gonna
happen.
happen, my friend.
And
Uh,
Smash and Smash.
they can do Smash for you, but I mean, Zelda,
Yeah, they
Zelda.
tried to do Smash. How did All Stars go again?
We're
Oh,
not.
right,
We're
it
not
had
talking
one
about
game and
that
it
right
sucked.
now. We're not
Oh
talking
god,
about that.
the rivalry is starting. But okay, anyways, you were saying what games were
Yeah,
you playing?
sorry. So outside of that, I've also been playing the demo for Bravely Default 2, which I'll be getting more into depth later. But basically, it's it's an early demo, which kind of shows because the game has some serious pop in when you go into the overworld. But from what it is, it's basic. It plays very well. It is like the first game, but it's like way prettier. They're using Unreal Engine now because it's not on a 3DS anymore. Um, it has solid gameplay. If you've played Final Fantasy 5, Final Fantasy 6, this is like right up your alley. Like exactly that. It's that perfect turn-based strategy game where you actually get way more input into deciding how you want to attack because now you have the brave and default system where you can defend, where you save up what they call brave points, and you can save up a maximum up to 3 brave points, and you can use those 3 brave points to attack multiple times. So, for example, if you want to attack 3 times in a row during that character's turn, you can do that by expending brave points. If you have 0 brave points, you can still expend brave points to do so, but then you get into the negative. So that means that you have to go back to 0, which means that that character is basically useless for the amount of brave points that you're in the red. So if you've expended 1 extra brave point and you have -1, that means that character can't move, can't attack, can't defend, can't do anything for 1 turn. If you do it to 3 because you think you can defeat the enemy and you don't, well then you're a sitting duck for 3 turns. So that's basically how the back and forth is, and it's not just your characters can do that; the enemy can do the same thing. So yeah, they can also do the same thing. They can defend and save brave points and then expend it, or they can just expend it all the way and do that. But CPUs, they are mean bastards. So they will be like, okay, I'm a defend right now. and that way I take less damage. But then I'm gonna expend all my brave points and just completely wipe your team, and you can't do nothing about it. So the difficulty curve in this demo was a bit high early on. And of course this is a demo like very early on. The game is going to come out this year is what they're saying. But they did say that after the demo's been out for a while, they'll send a select amount of players that played the demo a survey to gauge, what they did right, what they could do, what they did wrong, what they could do better, stuff like that, to improve the game. It's the same thing that they did when the first game came out, which is why the Western version of the first game um, was better than the original launch from the Japanese version. So, so I played that, and the one that I keep forgetting to talk about finally is I've also been playing. Did I talk about it? No, I don't think. Oh wait, I did. Yeah, sorry. Never mind. I thought I didn't talk about Trials of Mana, the demo, but I did. Yeah. So yeah, actually, outside of that, that's what I've been playing. Mostly Animal Crossing and Bravely Default.
That's a
So
lot.
yeah. So yeah, that's it for me. Anything else you guys want to add before we go to the next and final segment?
Nope, not on
Nope,
my end.
I'm good.
Cool. Then stick around, folks. We'll be right back with our hidden gems.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome to our final segment, the hidden gem.
Hidden gems.
Thank you for that.
I
So,
gotta do it, man. I got
since
it.
Negative is our special guest, would you want to take the honors?
Yes, I would. A hidden gem that I would recommend, apart from Xenogears, which is of course something you should have played, otherwise you need to kill yourself. Um,
Whoa, dang.
Whoa.
Goes
I'm
right
sorry.
for the jugular.
Oh,
Wow.
sorry. No, you shouldn't do
Mic
that.
drop.
But the hidden gem that I want to mention is a game called Full Metal Furies. It's an indie game, made by I think a female developer, um, which also it's an all-female cast. It's a kind of a side-scrolling shoot 'em up game, but the reason why I'm calling it a hidden gem is because for example, Escape Room Enthusiast, that game has a lot of secrets and puzzles, which is I really find it real awesome how they implemented or incorporated it. I don't want to spoil too much, but there's the puzzles or the secrets within the game even require you to actually go outside of your comfort zone to figure them out. Um, it's real simplistic. The secrets are everybody should be able to accomplish finding them, but once you are once you get started, or once you'll pull your hair out and trying to figure out, "Hey, how is this, what's the solution." You can of course Google them, but it's more fun just to try and figure them out by yourself. um, the only spoilers I would give is that the secrets are required to get the actual ending. That's all I'm going to
Alright,
say about this hidden gem.
that's cool.
I would recommend you can play it multiplayer. You can play it with 4 people, so you can take your friends. You can also play it alone. I would definitely recommend that as a game or a hidden gem that has probably gone under the radar of many gamers.
Is
What
it?
is the genre of this game, or did I miss that part?
Yeah, it's a side-scrolling shooter.
Okay, okay.
It's also a
Yeah,
bit of an action RPG, I think, because I'm looking at the Steam page and it says, well, at least the Steam page says it's an action RPG, but
yeah, I could, because Steam always puts a game into the RPG segment if it has levels. So basically, if
okay.
you level up, it's an
Oh
RPG.
god. Oh
Yeah.
man, does that mean that Call
Yeah,
of Duty is also
but
technically?
there is actual customization in it. And a part of the secrets is also finding weapons and gear and stuff like that. So yeah, I could say it fills the RPG-ish catalog. But the definition of an RPG is basically a story-driven game, and I wouldn't say that Full Metal Furies is very story driven. It has a story, of course, but it's not very story driven.
Is it
Yeah.
also available on other platforms or just on PC and Mac?
So far, I think it's so far only on PC and I think maybe PS4.
Well, it is on Xbox One, it's on Switch, and it's on PC. Yeah,
Oh, not
Oh,
on
and
PS4.
PS4.
not on PS4.
Oh, it looks really like a stylish game. I thought this would have been on PS4 by now.
Yeah, I thought it was. Are you sure? Are you?
Why are you giving me this look like for wait, what? Yeah, I'm looking at the Wikipedia, man. It says Windows, Xbox One, and Switch.
Yeah, but Wikipedia is not a super reliable source. I mean, I could put on Wikipedia that it's not on a PS4.
I can also go to their website and tell you the same thing.
Yeah, the developer being a female developer, they really did put an effort in. The team, the characters are also an all-female cast. There's humor in it. There's the secrets are definitely the reason why I'm calling it a hidden gem.
The game reminds me of the cast reminds me of kind of like a Powerpuff Girls kind of thing because they have all their own
Yeah. They are the Full Metal Furies, like the power. But yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Nice.
And the first game that they actually worked on was Rogue Legacy, which I actually have played on. I think I played it on PlayStation 4 because it was a PlayStation Plus game. And yeah, if you're into roguelikes, like that one is a really good game. So nice to see that their follow up is also as good, if not better.
Yeah, you should really. I would definitely give you guys a run for your money. That you would say that you would actually enjoy the game.
Okay, cool, sweet. So, SeanTemplar, unless negative, you have anything else to add?
Nope. That was it. And of course, play Xenogears.
I second that motion. So, SeanTemplar, what is your hidden gem?
Mine is, and I don't know how it just popped into my mind. I'm like, oh, this game is so amazing. It's a game called Mercenaries: Playground of Destruction.
Hey.
That is a PS2 and Xbox game. It was made by Pandemic Studios. Rest in peace, Pandemic, because they're no longer here anymore. And it was a game that it was an open world game on the PS2 and on the Xbox, and it had a really strange setting. It was set in North Korea, and North Korea was actually going to become more Western and embrace Western beliefs and stuff like that. But people in the dictatorship kind of didn't agree with the leader of North Korea, and so they kind of formed a coup, and they made the country even worse. And so they kind of started this war, and you are literally a mercenary sent in by kind of like a UN task force to go in and take care of the deck of 52, which is 52 high-ranking military people and officials in the North Korean country that you either have to bring in alive or take them out. But it's just such a bizarre game because there are different factions in the game, such as the UN like faction, but there's also, for example, the Russian mafia is in the game trying to form a black market. China is in the game. You could, for example, steal cars from the different factions, and then it would disguise you as a member of that faction, so you could get past a North Korean checkpoint if you were, for example, driving a North Korean Jeep. That was really fun, and you could also recruit characters just like NPC soldiers, and that they would fight with you when you were trying to take, for example, a control point or something like that. You can choose between 3 characters, 2 male and 1 female character. They have their backgrounds and kind of their abilities. You had these because you're a mercenary, money plays a big role. So you could do loadout drops. You could call in airstrikes. You could blow a lot of stuff up if you wanted to. You could just randomly buy a rocket launcher and then would just drop it for you, or you could buy a helicopter and create mayhem with it. You could get a bunker buster and you could blow stuff up completely. It's a really fun game. I personally didn't. I kind of knew about the game, so it came out of the blue for me. And when I started playing, I was amazed by it. EA did a sequel a couple of years later because they bought Pandemic, of course. The sequel, unfortunately, was not as well received as the initial game. I still bought it and played it on PS3. Really, for PS3 game, it looked really nice. It was set in Venezuela. Now there was destructibility in there as well, so you could actually blow stuff up and actually see it, which was also really cool. It had a co-op campaign in there, which was super cool because you could play the whole campaign with two people. Um, Unfortunately, yeah, after that, EA kind of shut down the studio, so they didn't really do anything with Mercenaries. There was a rumor that a multiplayer game called Mercs Inc. was being developed by EA Los Angeles, um, but eventually it got canceled after a couple of years, so it didn't even come out.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a shame about pandemic though. But I do remember like the aggressive uh, PR that they did for Mercenaries 2. So
Yeah, that was at the
that was
time
the
was
first time that I heard about the IP, and I was like, oh, okay, wait, sequel, okay. Didn't even know there was a one.
yeah, it was a fun game. I mean, it's because it's so bizarre because there are literally almost no games set in North Korea. So that was kind of like this completely strange setting. You don't expect it, and all of a sudden it was there, and it was actually banned in South Korea, I think, because of
Yeah, I would imagine.
why not? Maybe too sensitive. But yeah, it's like one of those games that's just really really fun. If you still have a PS2 and you can pick it up, I mean, do it, man. You won't regret it. So
It's not on it's not on what's it called
PS
again?
Now,
PlayStation Now.
I don't know honestly.
Yeah.
But hey, that's
Oh
my
well.
hidden gem. What's yours?
Well, my hidden gem is going back to the old JRPG well here for me as well.
Oh, what a surprise!
But this one is a bit more recent, and um someone reminded me of that and was like, oh yeah, like I literally have this game, and I still have this game, and it is called Fantasy Life.
Never heard
It's
of
a it's an action RPG developed by Level 5, so the same guys that did White Knight Chronicles.
it. That one I do
Um,
know.
or if you've been caught up with their more recent endeavors, Inazuma 11 and Yokai Watch. And
What are those games? What are those names?
yeah, it's a Japanese company, man. Don't think about it too hard. But yeah, it's this. How do I explain it the best way possible? It's like if Animal Crossing and and Final Fantasy 15 came together, said we want to make something very special,
Oh my god.
and then invited Final Fantasy 6 into the mix. No, sorry, Final Fantasy 5 into the mix because 5 has a job system, and that's Fantasy Life. It's basically an action RPG where you can literally from the outset choose whatever class you want and play the game any way you want to. And you're this character that just lucks into a job, so that's your first job. You have, I think, what was it again? 12 jobs? Yeah, you have 12 jobs. You have the basic jobs, so you can be a knight, you can be a paladin, you can be a mage, but you can also be a chemist, you can be a tailor, you can be a cook. Yes, those fight as well. Um, and you can be a bunch of other classes, and you can just play the game. It has a main storyline that you have to follow, so it's not open world, but it has open world tendencies. So basically, whenever you progress further into the story, the world becomes more bigger to explore, and basically you can be like, okay, I want to be a tailor. You can be a tailor, but basically you're just making um, cloth armor and stuff like that, and then you can switch jobs and then become a knight, and then you can raise your battle capacity that way. You can fight enemies with swords. You can become an archer. You can become a blacksmith so that you can actually make um, uh, light, not light, heavy armor, so that you can sell that and make more money. And you can go through the through the story as thus. And it's a the story is okay. It's not like Shakespeare or whatever, or it's not on the same level as um, like a big title. But the fact that you can be all these jobs and you can just do those jobs and level up in them and interact with the world and still make progression is something really cool. Um, it was a game that unfortunately had the distinction of being on the 3DS, but at the same time, that's what helps it a lot because it's very easy to pick up and play. You just play a quick session, maybe an hour or two. If you start a new job, it's already like that part is already about a half hour or so when you go through the mandatory story arc of that job. But once you've finished that, you can do whatever you want. It has a day-night cycle in the game, so at night the stronger monsters come out, so you have to be wary about that. If you die in the field, then you lose all your items, so you have to be careful to not die in the field. You unlock really cool stuff. You unlock a horse so that you can fast travel, and then you unlock like I think in chapter 2 you unlock the boat so that you can fast travel by just going to the port or just opening the menu and saying, "Oh, I want to go to this town." As long as you've been to the town, you can visit it. The characters are really fun and really distinctive. Um, the basically the main story is about the king of the kingdom that you're residing in. He has been infantilized, so he has been turned into a little kid, and it's up to you to figure out why he's turned into a little kid and find um, the solution to it, and then um, reverse the spell that's been put on the king so that he turns back into a grown up. And it looks really funny because his wife, the queen, is a cutie, and it's like, oh, that is so weird that the king is like this little toddler and he's just like talking to you all regally and stuff, and he's sending you out to save the kingdom. Well, not save the kingdom, but the revert him back to normal. The kingdom is fine. Like if you don't like if you basically do whatever, you're fine. But at the same time, you can't progress the game unless you know, progress in the story. So that's basically what fantasy life is. It's just living your fantasy life, as the title says. And yeah, it's a fun game. It's still out on 3DS, so if you have a 3DS, you can just pick that up and play that game, and you'll have hours of fun. Like I got a lot into the game, and just like the first time I played through it, um, literally dozens of hours that I put into that. And that was just when I was not even focusing on the story itself. Then I was like, oh, okay, it's time to focus on the story. I was like a little bit overpowered, and I was just blazing through the bosses, but it was still a good time. I totally recommend it.
It's you're really really passionate about this game, so that's really good to hear.
Dude, I'm always passionate about hidden gems, man.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything left to share?
Nope, that was it for me.
Cool.
What
Then
about you, Negative?
Lazy niggers. That's all I can say.
so
No, no, I have anything else to say. I have nothing else to share. It was a nice session.
Cool. Uh, Sean Templar, will you do the honors?
I will definitely do the honors. Okay, so I want to first start off by thanking Negative for being an awesome guest. Thank you. You added some cool stuff to it by asking us the questions. I did not expect that, so it turned out to be a really cool part, the new segment. Thank you for that. And also, thank you for sharing and participating. It was really fun to gain a little bit of different perspective from a non Nintendo fan.
Yeah, very funny. I see what you did there.
You said it real carefully. And I also want to thank you guys for having me around. It was my first ever podcast, and I really enjoyed it. Hopefully, could do this some other time. But
Yeah,
thank you.
we'll get you
Definitely.
back when you finish the Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay, that's a promise.
So for the other people that are listening, as always, thank you for listening. You can listen to us on all podcasting platforms out there. So Anchor, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast. You cast it, you name it, we're probably there. You can leave us your feedback through gamerivals@gmail.com. You can reach out to us through social media. So, for example, Twitter, game_rivals underscore. You can reach Maximilian @Maximilian. Do you have social media like Twitter that you want to share with people, or are you okay with?
No, I'm just negative. If you I'm not really on any platform at the moment, but
Okay.
that might change thanks to you guys.
Okay, that's okay. Cool. Nice. Thank you for that. We also have an Instagram, Game Rivals. We'll put the link in the description below. We have a YouTube channel. We will also put that description in the description below. Um, you can leave an Anchor voice message. You can do that either through the Anchor app or through the link in the description. You do not have to make an account for that. And have I forgotten something? Probably. Help
Yeah,
me out here, Maximilian.
yeah, yeah. Forgotten how you can reach you.
Oh yeah, the funny thing is people can't reach me. I don't have social
Yeah, if you
media.
want to reach him, you have to do it through the Game Rivals Twitter or the Game Rivals Instagram,
Yeah, or the Game Rivals
or
feedback.
or just emailing at Game Rivals
Yeah.
Feedback at gmail.com.
Have I forgotten
He doesn't have a
anything?
social media.
Yeah, I'm.
No, you got everything, man.
Okay, cool. So on that note, I want to thank you all. Um, see you on the next time. My name is SeanTemplar,
I'm Maximilian X.
And I'm negative.
and we will catch you on the next one.
See ya.
Bye.